had to deal with it by simply accepting who I am and my uniqueness. I'm not the most Kenyan anchor out there. I don't even have a Kenyan name. But I love my job and I come with a passion. And that's something that, I hope every night that I'm on TV or every time I do a story, that comes through in the way I do my job. And so that helped me deal with the pressure of fitting in. What is it if I'm another Anne Kiguta, if I'm another Julie Gishuru, or another Yvonne Okwara? They're there because they're themselves, right? So why not be Victoria Rubadiri? That's how you add value when you are yourself. People want to watch because of you and what uniqueness you bring to the screen, what uniqueness you bring to a story or to an interview that you do. Does my daughter Nema want to be a journalist? 100% no. She has told me countless times, that is not for me. Mommy, that is your job. She has her own ambitions. She actually wants to be an architect. She's also in the arts. So she sings and she acts. She has the dream to go to Stanford University. And so for her, she has her own path and what she wants to do. And I really admire her for that. She has a mind of her own. So she has no ambitions to get into what I'm doing. So access to me, pretty simple. I can share my email address. So if you want to interact there, you have questions, you need tips, guidance on anything in the field of media and journalism, I'm more than open and more than happy to help out with that. So Brian, I can share my contacts with you. So I hope I answered all your questions.
Wow. So thank you, Victoria. I know Brian asked so many questions. I'll give you guys one question each. Don't ask many questions, just ask one because others also want to ask. Joseph Musimi.
Yes. So Vicky. Hello.
Yes, just ask your question, please, Joseph.
So I'm asking what will be your prime advice to someone at the age of, let's say, between 14 to 18 and wants to be a great speaker, a person who wants to talk to the current generation to make them wake up and know that the future lays in their hands. What will be your advice to someone who wants to do that?
All right, thank you, Joseph. Omar, do you have a question? Yes, please ask your question.
Thank you so much, Collins. A question that I would like to ask Vicky is, of course, there are some tight headlines. How to handle being herself in front of the camera? Because obviously with Citizen TV, she's talking to millions of Kenyans. How does she maintain her posture? And there are many tight headlines. She could be talking about people dying, people doing other things. How does she maintain that?
All right. Thank you. Muema?
My question for you, Victoria, is if you were given an opportunity to mentor young kids like us who have dreams of becoming journalists, would you take the opportunity? And if you would, how would you go about it?
Right, thank you, Muema. Let me go to Abigail. What's your question? Please unmute yourself.
Hi. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Abigail, we can hear you.
Yeah, my question is, did you get scared your first time on TV?
Yes. Did you get scared your first time on TV? Wow, that's amazing. All right, thank you, Abigail. I think there's someone else with Gabriela Adjiambo.
I was asking, how did she get into journalism? That's my question.
All right, thank you. How did she get into journalism? All right, thank you. Then we have Osibori. Osibori, ask your question.
I wanted to ask, does Victoria ever write or read the news?
Okay, he's asking if Victoria writes or reads the news or does both. Okay, all right, thank you. Stella, I think Stella asked her question. Who else hasn't asked a question? All right, Omar, or your friend in the middle. Please unmute.
So as a young journalist from a humble background, how do you get connections to journalism? Maybe you have the passion, but the connection you can't get. So how will you manage that?
All right, Charlotte, I think I'll give Charlotte to be the last one. Charlotte, please ask your question.
Hi, Vicky. So my question is, how does it feel working with a co-presenter?
Wow. How does it feel like working with a co-presenter? All right, let me take it back to Victoria. Then I think 2 or 3 people have remained. We'll come back and wrap up with you guys. Karibu, Victoria.
Great. Great questions there, guys. So let me begin with Joseph, who asked, what advice would you give to someone who's between the ages of 14 to 18, who wants to, I guess, inspire their current generation? So I think I'll answer it from 2 perspectives. One, in terms of the skill part, right? So how do you develop the skill of speaking, public speaking, communicating? That is built over time, right? So the more you expose yourself to opportunities where you have to communicate a thought, you have to convince people of something, be it in front of your class, that could be the beginning. If you're put in a place of leadership where you have to communicate rules and instructions to a bigger group of people, for instance, if you're a school prefect, that's another way you could do it. Another is to join the debate club. They actually teach you the skill of oration, okay? And speaking, public engagement, how to hold your posture, how to sound confident, how to project your voice if you don't have a mic so someone in the back of the room can hear you. How to be clear in how you communicate, right? So that's probably the fastest, easiest way to become a better speaker. Okay, join the debate club, join the acting drama club, right? Because it pulls you out of your comfort zone. You're on stage, you're in front of people. You have to be loud and funny and engaging. So that also opens you up. But one thing I would say now comes naturally is being a people person. You know, you're someone who you have a warmth, you interact with people, you connect almost immediately. That helps a lot of people who just naturally, they're people, right? They can connect with someone without a problem. And so when you're talking to people in your generation, it's easy because you already have made friends and you've created that very natural kind of environment where people are comfortable with you. On the side of what I do as an anchor and a reporter, I'm also a moderator and an MC, all right? So I've built this skill over time, now running into 8 years, where I've hosted corporate events, dinners and galas and award shows. And with time, I've built my MC moderator personality, which many times you'll find is a bit different from my TV personality, okay? A lot more of myself as Victoria comes out. I'm a lot warmer, I'll crack a joke, I'll connect with the audience very differently from when you see me, maybe on Sunday Live. So it's so funny when people meet me, they're like, wow, you're very different. And I said, yes, because I'm bringing a different side of myself to this job. I'm not the news anchor. I'm now Victoria, the host. Okay, so different situations and scenarios call for a different kind of skill set. But again, you'll build that over time. Now, how do you reach your current generation? Super easy nowadays. Why? Because you have social media. Okay, so using platforms like that to connect where your peers are already there. TikTok, right? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There's platforms now for free that you can use to speak to your peers. Same thing to the question that came from, was it either Brian or Omar, in terms of how I'm passionate about being a journalist, but how do I get out there? I don't have the connections. Get yourself on social media. So many people have been discovered, even in the field of journalism, because of the work they put out there on social media. They DM'd someone in the media and said, hey, take a look at a video I did. Take a look at a small show I did with some of my friends. Take a look at a PTC that I did. Do you think I'm good? You know, so put your work out there, and it's become so much easier to connect with the people you want on social media than it was, say, back in the day, where you had to rely on who you knew, someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who worked at a TV station, and then they connect you with an interview. It's not like that anymore. Yes, it's difficult because it's become more competitive to get into journalism. Okay, so just because, yes, you have social media, remember there's maybe another 1,000 other people who are doing the same thing for that one position. So understand also the competition is high. So you have to also bring your A game. Okay, so before you get into that job, be ready to struggle a bit. All right, be ready to talk to every person you know, at least in the media, until you get that opening. It's going to be tough. It's not easy. It's going to be difficult. But to get into this field, that's a sacrifice you have to make. All right. But as a starter, I would say use platforms like social media to get your work out there, to get people talking about you and about issues that matter to you and your generation. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes.
Let's see. Maintaining your cool. How do I stay relaxed on air? It's not easy. And again, this has been something that comes with time. You can imagine you're in studio, your director is feeding you information while you're reading an intro. I'll give you an example. This happened at NTV. So I used to host the news on Friday evenings on NTV, when it would come just before the trend. But the way they had structured it, they had the trend at the beginning of news. So between 8 and 9, news came between 9 and 10, and then the second part of the trend came from 10 onwards. So I'm doing the news bulletin right in the middle. It was 9 o'clock. So usually what happens, they play the clock, it's a countdown, all right? And then they do what we call the montage. They play the music, da, 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 da. So you know, okay, we're just about to get to it. Your director is counting you down. We're coming to you in 10 seconds, all right? So now what was supposed to happen? They were supposed to play the highlights of the day, the top stories, and then come to me. So the director was counting down to the highlights, and they said, okay, Vicky, remember, we play highlights and then we come to you. Fantastic. So after the montage plays, that music plays, the next thing you see on screen is a set of big eyes. They just come on the screen. 2 eyes just come on the screen. And the next thing you hear, the director is using some language that I can't repeat here. And that's all I'm hearing. Next thing they come to me, they're like, read story one, read story one. I don't know what happened. So I start to read the first story. The first story is not ready. I finished reading the intro and the director says, story is not ready, ad lib. And I remember that particular story, ad lib means start talking from the top of your head. That story was on the drought. I remember specifically. And before getting into studio, I remember just reading stories on the drought, some statistics. How many other droughts have we gone through in Kenya? It came in handy. So the moment I finished reading the intro, I start ad-libbing from that information I had read before starting the news. And I did that for maybe about 2 minutes. And then my director says, the story is coming, 75%, keep going. 80%, keep going, keep talking. It's almost there, 90%, keep going. Keep talking, keep 95. Imeingia. Okay, go to story. And I have to find a point to now transition from my talking to say, and the story is here. And it went on air. So moments like that, you can only prepare for before. Did I know some big eyes would come on the screen that would now lead me to read the intro for a story that wasn't ready, to now fill time for about 5 minutes and then go to, no, I didn't know that was going to happen. But because I had prepared ahead of time, it covered me. You see, my director who's panicking in my ear cannot be seen by the viewer. But what can be seen by the viewer? This face. So I have to be relaxed through that whole experience. I'm not just hearing the director panicking. The producer is trying to find out where's the story. Wapi story? Wapi story? Why have you taken so long? And they're yelling, and I'm still talking about the drought as they're panicking. Okay. So with experience, having gone through enough of those kinds of experiences has now helped me build a skill of staying calm and expecting the unexpected. Even as you're reading that intro, the prompter can go off. So what do? You can't be saying, and in tonight's news, we're talking about the Eurobond. It was the biggest international debt utility that Kenya got in 2014. We're looking at the numbers and how that money was spent. Now, if they stopped at spend, I'm sitting there looking at you like this. What are you doing at home? You're laughing your heads off because you're like, what happened to this anchor? I have to keep going, right? So what do I remember about Eurobond? Well, it was 7 years in the making. It started in Kibaki's time and is actualized in Uhuru's time. We're looking at how that money was spent, which ministries it went to, which specific projects it went to, and was it actually reflected in the government coffers once it was transferred from the international markets. So when you're trying to now fill that, you have to know that information. It can't just come from anywhere, and it has to be factual. Stick to the facts, okay? Because even if you're ad-libbing, you can't be lying to people. What information are you giving them? So that's basically how I built that skill over time. So I hope I answered that question. Bosibori, do I write and read the news? So when it comes to the anchoring shift, those intros are written by the reporters who are on duty that night, but there's many cases where I have to do a story on my own, even though I'll be anchoring the news that night. I remember I was called upon, it was last Saturday, to do a story on the COVID-19 situation in Brazil. And I had to go onto Reuters, I had to get a script, I had to script, and I edited that story myself, okay? So like I told you earlier on, it's good to have various skills to do these things on your own, even though there are people to do it, all right? So you'll be called upon to do different things and you have to be ready, which is also what I love about my job. So Bosibori, I hope I answered that. How did I get into journalism? Gabriela, I shared this earlier, I'll be very quick. My parents were both in media. I was inspired by how they worked through their careers. And I started with the school newspaper in high school and then applied to university, studied broadcast journalism, and then started my career in radio. So that's basically how I got in. Working with co-presenters, Charlotte, very interesting. And you know, I have to have two of the craziest co-presenters in Kenyan media. The first one was Larry Mado, who's now with BBC World. And it was interesting handling someone who, as spontaneous and dynamic and brilliant as Larry Mado. But it helped me kind of expect the unexpected. It helped me loosen up on air because I used to be very nervous, you know, and it eased my tension and my nerves. So working with Larry was great. We had an amazing chemistry. To this day, people talk about it, and I loved working with Larry. And then we go to Oh My, Jeff Koinange, who is a show on his own. And I was trying to think, how do I match up against someone like Jeff Koinange? You know, this is someone who worked at CNN. My dream, you know, he's gotten an Emmy Award, a Peabody Award. He has global recognition. Jeff Koinange is a huge deal, right? And so I had to learn to be confident in my skill and what I bring to the table. And in the beginning, it was a bit tough because I didn't know his personality that well. He didn't know mine. But with time, we were able to build trust with each other and build a chemistry to what you see tonight on Sunday Live. And it's been an amazing experience. Okay. Moema, you had a question about mentorship. I shared my email with everyone. So please feel free to reach out with any other questions you have. Abigail, scared first time on TV? Absolutely. My first time on TV was on NTV. We were launching the election coverage. The date was March the 1st, 2013. It was a Friday. Larry and I were put in studio, sat next to each other, and I was a nervous wreck. But again, because he is so carefree, it made me become so relaxed that night. I remember after we were done, he gave me a gift of a bottle of water. Typical Larry Madowo kind of antics. But that was my first experience. And I remember we had to remember a script that was put together by Linus Kaikai to launch NTV's election coverage. Every single anchor was in studio. We had a camera coming to each anchor. And you know, when it's your time, I remember the person starting it was Smriti Vidyarthi, who's still at NTV. So she started off the script, camera starts there. No script, you have to remember it. It was in your head. Smriti, then I think it moved to Mark Masai, and then it moved to Ben Kitili, and then it moved to another anchor who had joined us from NTV Uganda, and then it was my time. Everyone was perfect in their script. And you can imagine, if you're the one person who drops the ball, everyone is talking about who? You. Thank God I managed to get the script out. You see, all those times I made mistakes early in my career, it was for that moment for me to get it right. And once I was done, the camera now moved on to the next anchor to take on. And so it's experiences like that, teamwork that encourage you to give your best when you're working with excellent, amazing, professional journalists like the Mark Masai, Smriti Vidyarthi, Larry Madow's, Linus Kaikais. I can go on and on and on and on, that keep you going in this career and make you up your game. And that has been an amazing journey for me. So I hope I've answered all your questions. Let me just take a look. Yes, it looks like I have. So Collins, I'll hand over to you for the remaining ones.
All right, thank you, Victoria. I think I still have around 5 people. So I'll give, let me go to Judy. Judy, if you can hear me, please. Okay, seems probably Judy is still preparing. Let me hear from Trevor. What's your question? Trevor, can you hear me? Trevor? All right, let me go to Tracy. Tracy? Tracy, can you hear me? Wow. Christopher? Christopher? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, Christopher, kindly.
My question. At which age?
Sorry, please come again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please kindly go on.
My question was, at which age did she get into journalism?
Okay. All right. Let me finally go to Alessandro, I saw her. What's your question, Alessandro?
Where did she get the information?
Where
did she get the information?
Okay, thank you, Alessandro, for your question. I think those are the two questions that that are remaining. Victoria, back to you.
All right, great. So Christopher, the age I got into journalism, so I counted from, I guess, when I started my internship, and that was at the age of 21. At the age of 21. So that's pretty much when I was exposed in a professional manner to a functioning newsroom, to a regular news cycle, where now I'm being sent out into the field and you're contributing. So that really, 21 is when I started. Alessandro, where did I get the information? Which information? If you can clarify.
The information which you say in the news.
The information which I say in the news, it comes from different sources. It comes from different sources. So sometimes it can come from government. If there's a statement, for instance, the COVID-19 numbers we get daily from the Ministry of Health. They send a statement or they do a press briefing at Afia House. Another way is if maybe there was an accident somewhere, you get a call from either the local police who say, hey, we've gotten an accident, or one of the witnesses shares a video on social media. That has become a new way that we've gotten information. Social media has become a very interesting source, but many times you have to verify some of that information because people can post anything on social media, but that's one of the places. Another example is, for instance, this current issue of the loan that Kenya got from the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. It was 255 billion shillings, and Kenyans were angry because they said, we don't need this money. It's going to be misused. It's going to be stolen, as has been the case in many other scenarios. And so you found that became a trending topic, and not just a trending topic. You had 220,000 Kenyans go and sign a petition to compel or to convince the IMF to take the money back, which we know won't happen because the IMF is in the business of lending money. So that became a very interesting story that we found and originated from social media. Another way we get information is now, this is more investigative. So someone doesn't necessarily come to you, you go out and dig. You do your research, you talk to sources to find out information on something. A bit of the work that I do with my segment National Reminder involves that, where we have to go into parliamentary reports, we have to go into Auditor General reports, we have to go into past news reports, we have to talk to sources to find out what happened at this stage and this point in time, and why was this the result. So our news, our information comes in different ways and in different forms and from different people. But at the end of the day, no matter how it comes, your job as a journalist is to verify if that information is factual and accurate by the time it's coming to you, the viewer. Because we get a lot of information. Whether some of it is true or not, that's now our job to determine before we put it on a newspaper and before we put it on the 7 or 9 o'clock news that evening. So I hope I answered your question. So those are the two.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Unless there's a follow-up.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Does anyone else have a question? Probably you haven't asked your question. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, I think everybody seems to be satisfied. Let me probably ask Brian to say something before we allow probably to leave. Yes, Stella. Stella, you have a question. Please ask your question.
Okay, my question is, what is your mission, vision, and next step that you want to take?
Wow. Okay, Victoria, what is your mission, vision, and your next step? That is from Stella Wanjiko.
Mission, vision, and next step. That's a heavy question. Usually when you hear of mission and vision, that you expect from like a company, you go onto the website and vision, mission, right? So for me right now, it's to give my best work. I always, and for the last few years since I discovered this quote, have lived my life that way, right? You may not be able to determine where you'll end up. But I remember seeing a quote from Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he said, honor the current space you're in with your best effort. So whether you are at the beginning of your career, maybe you haven't even started. You're working as a mail carrier, you have become the tea lady, but you want to be the news anchor. But what that quote asks you to be is your best self and give your best effort if you're serving tea, and be your best self and give your best effort if you're handing over a package to someone. And because you are faithful with that very small and insignificant, in your view, job, God blesses you with something bigger. And eventually, because he has seen how faithful you've been, I'm a Christian if you didn't know this, he then honors you with bigger platforms and bigger spaces because you did not look down on how it started. So for me, I may not be exactly where I want to be in terms of dream job, but every time I step into Citizen TV offices, I give my best. Every time I put myself to an assignment, I give my best. Because you don't know who's watching, right? All those times I was doing stories and I decided to submit it for the BBC award. Mind you, I applied 2 times before, never got in. I never got that award those 2 times I applied. The 3rd time I got it because I put an effort. I always upped myself each year. I saw where I made mistakes and improved enough that the BBC said, this is good enough. Okay, so for me, where do I want to go? I shared this earlier. I would love to work for an international media house, cover news in the region and the continent and the world. That for me is the pinnacle of the career. But until that happens, whatever I'm doing now, I'm giving my best. I can't give you specifics in terms of where that will end up and when, because I don't know. But what I can tell you, I can control my circumstances right now in giving my best effort for the time and the space that I exist. And that time is now, and that space happens to be Citizen TV. And thank you guys so much for this time and giving me space to share my experience.
Wow, thank you very much. Probably, Victoria, just the last opportunity, yes. I know we have those who want to be journalists, to become journalists probably in future. And we also have others who don't want to be journalists probably, and the likes of Sasha who want to be a pediatrician and all that. Probably, what would be your last sentiments for them in general?
In general, yeah. I mean, the same principles that have helped me reach where I am and, get some of the achievements that I have now has been hard work. That's something that is a non-negotiable. I can tell you everything else, but never let anyone else outwork you. Okay? There can be people who are smarter than you. There can be people who have more money than you. There can be people who are more connected than you, but never allow anyone else to outwork you. When you come to the table, it's because you worked the hardest. You put in the time, you put in the effort. For me, that's one thing I can say. No one can outwork me. And that's what's gotten me to the place I am. So whether you want to be a pediatrician, make sure you put in the time. If you want to be a lawyer, make sure you are putting in the work. You're reading through those books, you're going through past cases, you are, giving your best in mock trial. You're connecting yourself to more established attorneys and lawyers in the field, So always go the extra mile, always put in an extra effort. I know we're living in a world where people want instant gratification. They want this now, which seems to get it. But nothing is more rewarding than slowly taking your time, putting in the work, and many times working in silence. People may not see you, but eventually they'll see the success and wonder, how did that happen? Work in silence, move in silence. And eventually, once you've blown up and people see you holding platforms and jobs and positions that they could only dream of, it's because you worked in silence and you were faithful to the task and the process. Don't be afraid or allergic to hard work. That has been my quote and something that I've lived by. It always pays off. There's always a reward for working hard.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much. And maybe before you leave, I know there's a question on everybody's mind. And we at Mtoto News are very centered at making children's stories come as they are, because we've come to the realization that in the media, children's stories are either misinterpreted or misreported. They come out not as children expected. And here Mtoto News, you believe anything about children without them is against them. So we took this opportunity to actually train them. I can tell you from a personal point of view, these kids are phenomenal. We've taught them literally everything, and every day we keep on learning new things from them. What does the media fraternity offer for such kids? We are training them on how to use media as a tool for advocacy. What does it mean for them? Is there a chance for them at this age, leave alone social media and mainstream media? What does it mean for themselves growing up? Will media mold them into who they are? Surprising enough, one of our key anchors here at Mtoto News, because we have news bulletins every week, is Omar Hamed is here with us. He can just wave. I know he asked a question. He's a key news anchor. Brian King has his own show here at Mtoto News. We are having, Joseph is a school president, school leader. Sasha as well is a leader. She's an acrobat. Stella is a leader. I'm telling you, what does media present for these kids? Because I, coming from a child participation point of view, would like to know, so that at the end of this training, with all this information and skills they have, what does it mean for them?
Yeah, it's amazing to hear how already many of you guys are exhibiting skills and talents. You're not waiting for a nation media group or an RMS to notice you and your work. It's still early in the game, I must say. You still have to finish school. You still have to kind of go through the process of different things, but you started off really well in showing how ambitious you are. Employers nowadays are looking for people who take initiative. Okay, so as much as, yes, we say a piece of paper from a reputable university or educational institution is good, it helps you, but what keeps you in the industry in terms of being successful is the passion and ambition, right? The thing that you're showing right now. So I think that's amazing in terms of how to incorporate them into the media space and media ecosystem right now. Unless there's some collaborative project or program that we have with Mtoto News, and that's maybe a conversation that we can get into with the editorial team and perhaps the leadership team at Mtoto News to see how to work together, and probably have some of the team come and shadow reporters like Hassan Mugambi, who works on crime stories, or to shadow someone like Dorcas Wangira, who does social issues and health stories, or to shadow Jeff Koinange, who does his radio show and JK Live. those are conversations that we can have, because I believe that exposure is so important even at this age, because you begin to form within yourself and your mind that this is what I could do in a couple of years. This is a space or a gap I could fill. As I'm going to university, maybe I can study this. You know, I was talking to an aspiring journalist, and she right now is doing, I think she's doing law, and she wanted to make the shift to journalism, still in university. And so I told her, listen, journalism is one of those careers that you don't necessarily have to go to school for, okay? It's skills and experience that you gain by getting into the newsroom. I told her this: stay in law, get your law degree. After that, if you feel that this is a passion that you have, then apply for a job in a newsroom. And let me tell you, you have a higher chance of getting into a newsroom with a law degree than a journalism degree. Okay? So I would advise you, study something else. Study something else. But the skill that you're using from Toto News right now, build over time, build it alongside. Look at Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN. He's a trained surgeon, but he also is a journalist. He didn't go to journalism school. He didn't get a journalism degree, but it was a skill that he built alongside the one that he has as a doctor. His bigger moneymaker is TV, yes, but he has the foundation of being a doctor. He has the brains to back up what he's saying on television. You see what I'm saying? So find something that you'll build in terms of a career outside of journalism. It's a good foundation. I'm not saying don't go to broadcast journalism school or get a degree in that. I'm not saying that if that's what you want to do, fantastic. But if you have an inclination to go into something else, do that, because it's a great backing for you once you get into journalism. I have colleagues who were lawyers and became journalists, colleagues who were nurses and became journalists, colleagues who were teachers and became journalists, colleagues who are biochemists and became journalists. But they have such an authority when they speak on those particular topics because of what they studied in university, that by the time they came to the newsroom, they're using those skills. They're using those skills to make them unique, to make them authorities. Look at Dr. Mercy Correa on KTN. She's a doctor, yes, but she's now also a journalist. But every time she tweets, every time she does a story on a health matter, in fact, right now she's become an authority on COVID-19 because she's a doctor, but also a reporter. You see, so don't kind of feel like, oh, I have to do this to become a really good reporter or a journalist and, get the degree. No, go into different fields, explore, learn, and then, enter the industry that way. So that would be my advice.
Wow, thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you so much. Mine is just to thank you for taking this time to be here with us. I know it's pretty much to ask for. It's been almost 2 or 3 hours being with you here, interacting, asking questions with the cream de la cream of the industry. That is really nice. Thank you so much. Our only request is that we want to thank you so much. And the way we do it here as a training is going to shock you. One, we're going to take photos with you where you are. I must say the artwork in the background is really nice. That is really nice. The other thing, we have a social media celebrity here, Moema. She has her trending video right now on Instagram. You may just get time and go see it. It's Moema. She leave it at the chat box, the right IG name. She leave it at the underscore. And the other thing, guys, now we need to put our makeup on and get ready for the photo. And before that, let's just clap. Open up your mics, unmute, and please let's clap for Vicky for the wonderful
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay. My we are over 10 counties represented in this training, and over 35 children have already participated. Some of them are now in vision, but the ones we are having here are already 20. And that is really nice. We are looking forward to working with Citizen TV and especially with you as a brand to make the voices of children known and understood in this country. The other thing, guys, now this time, let's start smiling. Let's put our best faces forward as you're taking the selfie. I'm having the technical team take the selfies. So just smile, just smile. You can wave at her. I think that is all. Those are enough photos. Thank you so much, Victoria. And we will allow you, because of your busy schedule, as you said, yours is as spontaneous as it comes, and we're going to give you an opportunity to leave. Guys, you have our email address. We've taught you how to write to her very well in the nice English we've taught you, with the nice skills that we've taught you, and express yourselves in ways you will want Victoria to look at it. Okay? Thank you so much, Vicky. We're so honored and so humbled to be with you here. Thank you. Guys, you can say goodbye to her.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
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 And Wema, I'm already on your Instagram page.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Guys, we're going to take a break at this session, and next up,
Bye. Thank you, Vicky.
is going to be with us after the break as our social media person. He's going to lead us through and maybe help some of us grow our social media platforms into having so many followers and get the experience we need. So, guys, we're taking a break of like 10 to 15 minutes. Don't stay out too long. Don't go cook food. Just go take a drink, visit the washroom, and come back. Collins, maybe you can talk before we go for a break.
Yeah, so I'm so happy, guys. I'm so excited that you guys have had this opportunity to ask your questions. And you see, for the first time, watu wameuliza maswali mpaka wana maswali. So I'm excited that you expressed yourself, you engaged Vicky, and that is very important. So let's go for a break. I think we can give them around 15 to 20 minutes. At least they can relax. I know it's tough having longer sessions and all that. So then we come back so that you are taken through fake news, which is also another important aspect that you guys should know. So,
thank you, guys. Asanteni sana. That is really nice. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for putting your best foot forward. We are looking forward for more and more. Sindio, that was nice. Sindio.
Yes.
You guys, you've heard she's talked about collaborations. So be ready.
Yes.
New things are coming. So just